I can give you 9 reasons right off the bat why the Insta360 GO3S is the better choice than the GoPro Hero 12 or the DJI Action 4. But these reasons have nothing to do with the image quality, because here the Insta360 GO3S has a disadvantage compared to the other two cameras. Due to its small size, it has a significantly smaller sensor than the DJI Action 4 and a slightly smaller sensor than the GoPro Hero 12. So before we get to the 9 advantages mentioned, we should first take a look at the image quality of these three cameras in comparison. After all, image quality is and remains one of the most important, if not the most important criterion when it comes to cameras. And this also applies to action cameras. And compared to the Insta360 GO3, the GO3S has improved considerably. Not only does it have a better dynamic range and more beautiful colors than the GO3, but it can now also shoot in 4K at up to 30 frames per second. So a comparison with its significantly larger competitors therefore makes even more sense. And as you can see here in these shots, the Insta360 GO3S has nothing to hide from the other two cameras. All shots were taken in the standard settings, and the shots from all three cameras look great. Even in a direct comparison with the Action 4 and the Hero 12, the colors of the Insta360 GO3S look very nice and rich in contrast. I would perhaps say that the GO3S takes the most saturated shots in the standard settings. The shots of the Action 4 in particular have a slightly more cinematic look. What is noticeable, however, is that the Action 4 usually exposes the images a little darker. This protects the highlights better, but for a vlogging shot, for example, it's better if the face is well exposed. It's interesting to note that the shots from the GO3S also have a similar amount of detail to the shots from the other two cameras. Even when zoomed in, there are only slight differences. This even applies to a comparison with the GoPro Hero 12, which has a resolution of 5.3K. Of course, it should be noted that these recordings were taken in good weather and very good lighting conditions. And it's precisely in such conditions that the sensor size is not so important. Only when the shooting conditions become difficult does the size of the sensor play a more important role. And so, of course, the Action 4 in particular has advantages in low light conditions, as it has by far the largest sensor in this comparison. While the Insta360 GO3S can still keep up relatively well with the Hero 12 in low light conditions, you can see that the Action 4 produces a better image in low light. This is also noticeable in the poorer stabilization of the GO3S shots, but I'm still surprised to see how well the GO3S can keep up with the Hero 12. Please bear in mind how small this camera is. The Action 4 in particular also has a slightly better dynamic range than the small GO3S. Especially the highlights are somewhat better protected in difficult shooting situations. In contrast, there is hardly any noticeable difference in dynamic range between the GO3S and the Hero 12. It's also noticeable here that the Hero 12 produces significantly more lens flares when shooting against the light. The lens flares on the GO3S have been greatly reduced thanks to a new lens. The HDR mode of the Hero 12 should also be mentioned in this context. The GoPro Hero 12 is the only one of the three cameras in this comparison that has its own HDR recording mode. By the way, the GO3S was provided to me by Insta360 for testing purposes, but this video does not include any additional paid sponsorship. Despite the disadvantages in low light and the somewhat smaller weaknesses when it comes to dynamic range, it's incredible what a good image this small camera can produce, even in this comparison. However, you shouldn't forget that the other two cameras are not really specialists for taking shots in low light conditions either. So if you really want to achieve good image quality, you need to film with all three cameras and not just with the GO3S in good weather and good lighting conditions. And then of course, the Action 4 and the Hero 12 have the advantage that they can take slow motion shots in 4K at up to 120 frames per second. For 100 frames per second, you have to reduce the resolution on the GO3S to 2.7K. And here of course, you can see the difference in resolution. It's also noticeable that the image of the GO3S is heavily cropped in slow motion mode. It should not be forgotten that the GO3S should not be seen as a pure action camera. So I would also say that the stabilization of the GO3S is good enough, but not quite as good as that of the other two cameras. In standard video mode, the field of view of the GO3S is similar to the standard field of view wide of the GoPro Hero 12. The field of view of the Action 4 is slightly wider. So what's your impression? Can the image quality of the Insta360 GO3S compete with the other two cameras for the most part? If so, then you should definitely take a look at the strengths of the GO3S. I said 9 strengths, but there's also a catch, which I'll tell you at the very end. The first advantage is certainly the most significant. The Insta360 GO3S is a combination of a small standalone camera and the action pod. The actual camera is significantly smaller and also much lighter than the Hero 12 and the Action 4. Depending on the use case, this can be a huge advantage. The Insta360 GO3S is much easier and less cumbersome to mount wherever you want. You won't feel the weight of this camera on a helmet. And that brings us to the next decisive advantage of the Insta360 GO3S. It offers much more flexible mounting options. The back of the GO3S is magnetic and you can therefore attach it to metallic surfaces without an additional mount. In addition, the camera and the Action Pod support a quick release mount, which has a GoPro mount and a tripod mount on the underside. These options in combination with the small size mean that you can really attach the GO3S wherever you want. What you wouldn't expect at first glance, but which I am convinced of, is that the GO3S is also the most robust camera in this comparison, which is very important for an action camera. This is at least true if you use the GO3S outside of the Action Pod. I have already dropped the GO3 from a height of more than 10 meters and it hardly suffered any damage. The lens cover is extremely easy to replace in the case of damage. In addition, the displays on the Action 4 and Hero 12 are naturally a weak point. A breakage of the back display can lead to a total loss of the camera. And the next advantage of the GO3S is the flip-up display. If you use the camera in the Action Pod, you can flip up the display. This also makes the GO3S an ideal vlogging camera. The other two cameras also have a display on the front. However, this is significantly smaller than the back display of the Insta360 GO3S. And for me, one of the coolest features of this camera is the combination of Action Pod and standalone camera. You can take the GO3S out of the Action Pod quickly and easily without interrupting a recording. The Action Pod is not just a charging station, it can also be used like a remote control. You can check the preview image from a distance and use the Action Pod to control the camera from a distance. During or after a recording, simply place the camera back in the Action Pod and it will be charged automatically. And interestingly, at least in combination with the Action Pod, the GO3S is the camera with the longest recording time in this comparison. In 4K at 30 frames per second, it can shoot for more than 2 hours, approximately 2 hours and 2 minutes. The GoPro Hero 12 shoots in this setting for 1 hour and 42 minutes, the Action 4 for 1 hour and 46 minutes. Without the Action Pod, the recording time is of course significantly reduced. Without the Action Pod, the GO3S records in 4K 30 for around 33 minutes. Another advantage of the Insta360 GO3S for me is clearly the FreeFrame video mode. In this mode, the entire image from the sensor is captured and similar to a 360 camera, you can then freely select in the app in post whether you want a vertical or horizontal shot without any additional cropping. You can also freely decide the setting for the field of view in post. This is a great feature, especially for social media, but it also has the disadvantage that you still have to select the format in the app for each of your recordings. It's important to note that there are no restrictions in terms of resolution on the GO3S for the FreeFrame video mode, so it's also available in 4K. But the FreeFrame video mode is not the only interesting additional feature that the GO3S has to offer in this comparison. Compared to the Hero 12 and especially the Action 4, the Insta360 GO3S offers by far the most additional features. Unlike the other two cameras, it also has gesture control and supports Apple's Find My feature, for example, so you can locate it with your iPhone like an AirTag. Then of course there are many features that these cameras have in common, such as voice control or the ability to schedule a recording. And for me, the last major strength of the Insta360 GO3S in this comparison is the Beta app. Compared to the GoPro Quick app and the DJI Memo app, the Insta360 app offers significantly more and also better features, such as a well-realized and fully fledged editing tool. So yes, in this comparison, there is a lot in favor of the Insta360 GO3S, an almost equivalent image quality, the many mounting options, and many interesting and useful features. But as previously mentioned, there is also a catch. The cool overall package of the Insta360 GO3S has its price. At $400, the GO3S is clearly the most expensive camera in this comparison. The Action 4 and the GoPro Hero 12 are now both available for around $300. And especially if you simply want a traditional action camera and the size and special features of the GO3S don't matter to you, the Hero 12 and especially the Action 4 are of course a good choice. If you already own the GO3, you can also buy the GO3S as a standalone camera for $239 and get all the new features. You can find a link to all 3 cameras in the video description. If you use the link for the GO3S, you will often also receive a free gift. And if you want to find out more about the many features of the Insta360 Insta360 GO3S, I recommend my detailed tutorial on the GO3. In this tutorial, I explain in detail how this camera works. There will be more tests and tutorials on the Insta360 GO3S, so stay tuned, give me a like as feedback if this video was interesting for you, and see you next time.